Our objective for today, I can identify angle relationships. Read together. 1, 2, 3. All right. So, all right. So by what I hear, this might not work. So I might have to change the arrangements tomorrow. Anyways, I can identify angle relationships. So this lesson is going to be about definitions, revisiting stuff that you saw since elementary in regards to angles. And a reminder in regards to angles, those of you that are going into the medical field, whether it's being a veterinary, being a doctor, a nurse, if you're going to go into sports, like being like a sports trainer or a somebody that specializes in movement and stuff like that, all that's going to require some of this geometry, which is basic. Now, a reminder to me, for example, a couple of weeks before we went to Easter break, I came in here in the afternoon, or I don't know if it was a weekend, to finish up some work. And usually I'm wearing my chanclas, my flip-flops. But when I get to class or when I'm at home, I take them off. So I was walking around here, and lo and behold, I forgot that I have some students that, you know, instead of throwing away their trash, they throw the staples on the floor and stuff. So as I was walking around, I got something stuck on my heel. And so I put on my flip-flops, left, went home, and I tried to see if it was something on the surface that I can take out, but somehow I couldn't reach it. And then I had my wife also look. She couldn't. So during the break, I went to the podiatrist, which is the foot doctor, and he couldn't see also. So he got his scalpel and he started, you know, cutting off a little bit of the surface. And he couldn't reach. I guess he couldn't see anything. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to need X-rays. So he sent me to go get X-rays. So this was last week, and and he's a little bit techie doctor, and instead of asking for X-rays on transparency like they usually do, you know how they give you an envelope with stuff like that? He said, tell him to give you a CD with the stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, watch out. So I asked them for the CD, and they gave me the CD, and this was over the weekend because I was going to go this week to go see him again, so that he can give me a, you know, prognosis as to what it was. So over the weekend, I was thinking, like, I wonder if I put the CD in my computer, if I can see the X-ray. So I went in, and I couldn't see it because it requires a certain software to be installed. So then I tried to look for the software, and I installed it. So I was able to see my X-rays on my computer. But the one thing that I saw about that program that they use is that it reminded me that they have a button that has angles in it. So what it does when they click on the button that says angles, and with their cursor, they click on certain portions of the X-ray, it creates angles, and live, it gives you the degree of the angle and the measurement of each of the sides of the angle. And that's for them to know, you know, how much to cut and so on, how deep it is and stuff like that. So I was like, wow, it reminded me of the application of angles in the real world. So that's why I'm bringing it up for you guys, those of you that are going to go into the medical field or any field related to that involves medicine. You guys will be doing more of this. So to get started today, we're going to look at definitions. So write these down, please. First one, vertical angles. Angles are non-adjacent angles formed by two intersecting lines. Second one, adjacent angles have common vertex and common side, but not common interior points. Third one, complementary angles, two angles that add up to 90 degrees. Next one, supplementary angles, two angles that add up to 180 degrees. Copy that, and then I'll elaborate on those. All right, so as you're finishing up writing these down, I'm going to start off by talking about adjacent angles. Now, in the first semester, I think I addressed some of these terms, not completely. I just kind of like in passing, I just introduced some of them because we did some of these concepts during the warm-ups and some of the warm-ups. I don't know if you guys remember. So one of the names or terms that we talked about was adjacent. And we said the word adjacent means next to. Next to. Once again, adjacent means what? Next to. All right. So let's read the definition for adjacent angles. It says, have a common vertex and a common side. What does that word common mean? That they share a side and they share a vertex. So, and that means that they're next to each other and they share a common side or share a common vertex. So I'm going to sketch a diagram up here. Like so. Let me zoom in. That should remind you of systems of equations, yes? Yes. All right. So if I was to label this, I'm going to label this angle A, B, C, and Q. So by looking at those angles, and according to the definition for adjacent angles, that means they have one side that they share, or it's common, and that they are next to each other. Okay? So, my first adjacent angle given this diagram, or adjacent angles, I'm going to start with angle A. Angle A is adjacent to angle B. Why? Because it's next to angle B, and they share a common side. This side is part of this angle, and this same side is part of this angle. Also, they share a common vertex. What is a vertex? Where the angle begins. This part right here is the vertex. They both share that point. Are we there so far? So, looking at angle A again, question, what other angle is adjacent? Tell your neighbor, please. Everyone. Q, that is correct. Angle A is adjacent to angle B, and it's also adjacent to angle Q. Why? Because they're next to each other, and they share this side, and they share the vertex. Are we there so far? All right. So, let's try this again. Looking at that same diagram. Tell your neighbor what angles are adjacent to angle C. Talk it over to your neighbor, please. All right, what angles, Pedro? Angle C is adjacent to angle Q. Hands, have you got that? Yes. What other angle? Angle C is adjacent to what other angle, Pedro? No, you can do this one. Angle B. Hands, if you agree with those? That is correct. So those are adjacent angles. Yes. Yeah. Oh, okay. Can you what? Yeah. Okay. Next. So we're done with adjacent angles. Now I'm going to vertical angles. Vertical angles are non-adjacent. Non-adjacent. All right, let me zoom in. We know what adjacent angles are. All right, by looking at it, non-adjacent angles are vertical angles. So, Talk it over to your neighbor, let them know which angles. Give them one pair of angles that are vertical. One pair of angles that are vertical. Octavio. Angle A is vertical to angle C. Hands if you agree with that? Yes. Also, angle B is vertical to angle Q. Yes? Okay? Now, one thing, focus please, one thing to know about vertical angles is that they have another special property. So look up please, let me zoom in. Let me zoom in. All right, there's angle A. Oh, yeah, there it is. Look up, look up. There's angle A. I just turned it around, and what do you guys notice? It's the same as angle C. So therefore, one symbol that we use to show that is this symbol. And that means congruent, which means same measure. So I would write angle A is congruent to angle C. And to show that on the diagram, I will show it like this. Which means if we said that angle B is congruent to angle Q, would I do this? No. This is one arch. That means this is one arch. Then people might get confused that since this has one arch, this is one arch, then they might measure the same. So what can I do to this one? That is correct. We do a double arch. Yes, it looks like a rainbow. Yes. So that's how you can distinguish one from the other. Okay? Any questions with vertical angles? Okay? All right, let's move on. Let's go to complementary angles. Complementary angles are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. This is how they present it, and this is how you're going to see it presented. Look up, please. So, they might say, name two complementary angles. The angles are what? A and Y, because they both make a 90-degree angle. Do you guys see the 90-degree angle? Now, that's not the only way that they're going to present it. They're also going to present it like this. They're going to say, this is angle Q, and it measures 23 degrees. Angle Q is complementary to this angle X. Solve for X. So think about it. Angle Q is complementary to angle X. Solve for X. Talk it over to your neighbor, let them know what you can do with that. Okay. Hopefully you said, oh, Mr. Q, since I'm in algebra, I can write it like 23 degrees plus x, that is equal to 90 degrees, and then I can solve for x. Hands if you agree with that. Yes. Okay? So, with that same idea, I'm going to talk about supplementary angles. Supplementary angles are angles that, or two angles that add up to 180 degrees. Usually how they present this is as follows. Now here's a straight line, and if I look at the straight line and make this angle, it looks like a half a circle. Half a circle is 180 degrees. Which means these two are supplementary. Or another way they can, yes, Justin. No. Another way they can present this is as follows. They might say, angle Q is 23 degrees. Sketch and solve for the supplementary angle to that one. So I would sketch it like this. And label it what? X, because I don't know what that measures yet. I'll tell you never what I would do to solve for X. All right. So we would write 23 degrees plus X equals 180 degrees, because now they're talking about what? Supplementary. We got it? Yeah. All right. Next. Underneath that, let's write a couple more terms that we need to revisit. And once again, all these you've already heard of. I'm just trying to bring back and clarify. Let's do right angle, straight angle, acute angle, and obtuse angle. Everyone, right angle, straight, 180. Now this one I already talked about before, and I said it's easier if you remember like a little baby. When people see little babies, they go, oh, what a cute little baby. Get what a cute. What? So, acute angles are in between, degrees in between 0 and 90 degrees. In between. So it cannot be 0 and it cannot be 90. Anything in between, yes? Therefore, obtuse is anything in between 90 to 180. Yes, please. Thank you. All the way to the end. Next, write this down. What did I just sketch? Huh? Yes, and plug it in. Yeah. What else did I sketch? Very good, a point. Some of you are distracted and not even looking over here. Next one. This is what we call a ray. A ray begins with a point and it goes without stop all the way. So it's kind of like a way to remember that is the sun. Sun is the beginning point, and all the rays do not stop. They keep going. Next. What is that called? Line segment. Like line segment. Yeah. Because what is this one? This is a line. So you know the difference between a line and a line segment. Okay? Next, yesterday I introduced you guys to what we call a plane. Now, to represent a plane, I'm going to just draw this parallelogram. However, a plane could be a rectangle or it could be any other shape as long as it continues going in all directions non-stop. Is that correct? Yeah. And the illustration that I did yesterday, I said, here's a point in my space. I stretch the point in all directions, and it's an invisible wall, and it becomes a plane. Now, is the plane always just standing up like this? No, it can be in any direction, like this, like this, like this, like this. A plane could be in any space, in any direction. Everybody with me? And lastly, let's see. What did I just sketch? A ray. Now what do I have? It's an angle, right? So angle. However, an angle has a beginning point, and that's called the vertex. And these are called the sides, and I'm just also going to label it legs. Now check this out. By what you saw me do right now, what do you think would be a definition for an angle? An angle is what? Two rays joined by a common vertex. That is correct. Home play for tonight, not Fortnite. For tonight, stay off your social media and get some rest. There is no home play for tonight's lesson because I want you guys to be ready for tomorrow's language arts state exam. Have a good one, guys. Enjoy your afternoon. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.